inside of the Cougar, the roof. Got that painted last night so I can glue on some insulation and get ready to put the headliner on the car. Just watched a video from Auto Resto Mod, Jeff Ford. I like his videos. He's got a lot of good information to get some tips on getting this thing installed easier than going into it with no information. So that's what we're going to do today, get the headliner installed, and yeah, I'll show you some of the, I'm not going to go make a whole video on this, but show some of the points of interest. So, okay, here we go. So one of the things he talked about is finding center line on the headliner by folding it in half. This way, when it comes together up front, we know where to find center. And I guess you do the same thing in the back as well. It's a black headliner, so I can use a Sharpie to mark it on this side. If it were a white headliner, I don't think I'd want to mark it with a black Sharpie. Now, one of the things I did when I took apart the car was I marked all these headliner bows. You can see this one's got 1 dot, this one's got 2, 3 dots, 4 dots, and 5 dots. If you look over here, you can see that hole has 1 dot, this one has 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I know where to put these headliner rods, and in fact I did the same. I just marked which hole it was on this side with a single dot each, but we know what position, so we'll know what hole they're going to go in. It'll make it easier going back together. It'll be correct, or it'll be the way it was, and the headliner was not bad. It was in good shape. So we'll go back with that, but I guess I have to take off the these little coat hooks off of here before I put the headliner in. So I'll get that done, and then we'll start probably, I think, figuring out how to fit the insulation in there. It's not real like headliner insulation, but it's kind of similar, and I'm going to glue it up there, see what we can do, figure out how to glue it in. I guess it's going to go between the headliner bows, because the headliner bows are probably going to go all the way up to the ceiling, so there'll probably need to be a gap between each headliner bow where to put the glue. So alright, anyway, I'll keep moving here and bring you along. So these coat hooks, it's just a rubber cover over a little plastic hook part, and on this one over here I started taking it apart, and so this slides off the top, and then there's one Phillips screw in there to be able to take it out. So I'm going to take that out because I'll set down the camera to take it out because I don't have great aim with left hand. I guess good enough, but anyway, so I'll take these out, and the other thing I did was I put all the headliner bows in place. This way I can see where the insulation is going to go, where it's going to be cut. These pieces of insulation, let me get one out here. Kind of looks like carpet padding, but it should glue up to the roof and work good for insulation. I'll just have to cut it to fit. So if you take a look, so I made a little dot here underneath where the coat hook, or I think it's actually for the seat belt, to hold the part of the seat belt up there. There's one here, there's another same thing here, but that's unused. And of course there's a lower and an upper hole. I'll just have to remember that there's an upper hole. And probably what I'll do is take a piece of masking tape, put it on the outside with a line on the masking tape that's in line with the dot I made. So this way I can find where to put that hook back in later on. And same with this one. There's only one provision stamping back here to be able to put it, and it goes in the upper hole on this side as well. And the same with the driver's side of the car. They go in the upper hole. So one of the other things I have is this wax honey coating. You spray it in on the seams, and it's supposed to creep into the seams and just keep moisture out. So even though I painted the roof, it's not it doesn't make it all the way down. I didn't load it up inside the seams. So I'm gonna spray this stuff down there because I figure I'm probably gonna tuck this insulation up into here, which then I would not be able to get the wax honey into this, you know, on top of this seam here. And yeah, so I'm gonna go around and spray that in, and this way it hopefully has a little bit more protection. Okay, so this stuff goes on pretty thin, but then after a while it solidifies to like this kind of waxy paste that it should travel down into the seams and then like partially solidify. So hopefully that adds a little bit of protection, and now we can start cutting out pieces of the insulation and get that fit in. Well, here's one of the things I'm looking at is the headliner bow is not tight up against the roof. I have a feeling I don't have to section in this insulation, that the bow can just go right underneath and it'll help hold it up as well. So yeah, I'm not gonna cut it in, but I will have to cut sections to fill in where it doesn't make it to the other side. Okay, so I got one piece glued up here, and time to do some more. So I got this pint can of, this used to come in quart cans, but now it's the same price, but you only get a pint. Definitely want to have some ventilation when using this stuff here. Another thing I found is, so I was trying to cut this stuff with scissors, and it is really tough. I mean, you could just barely do that and get it to cut. But I found these sheet metal pliers that are sheet metal snips, and it has a little bit of a serrated edge on it, or maybe it's not. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. But I'll tell you what, it cuts really easy with these. So this is what I'll be using to cut the other pieces in. So all right, well, here we go. I'm going to keep keep moving along and get that insulation up there, and then pretty soon we'll be able to put in the headliner. And then it'll be one less thing. After the headliner, we're gonna put in the back window. The insulation's going pretty good. It's coming out pretty nice. It's up there firm. Normally with contact cement you'll want to let it tack over because you put a coat on both sides of two hard surfaces, but this it breathes, so I put it up there wet and I just stuck this to it, so whatever needs to evaporate, whatever solvent that evaporates out of the contact cement will be able to evaporate out and allow this to stick in place. Because it wouldn't have been worth trying to coat the insulation with a coat of it and then let it dry. Plus it gives me a little bit of workability on it. But yeah, so anyway, gonna keep moving forward with it and get this done. So here is the insulation all put in. I don't know where this came from. It's very similar to some of the automotive insulation that that you find in the car, like some of the stuff in the seats and padding, stuff like that. Anyway, I think this is going to hold together really well. But what I did to prevent any fibers or dust coming through the perforated headliner is I bought a set of black sheets. So I'm going to cut a piece of sheet to go up here, and I'm going to glue that in place around the perimeter, and then probably various dots of it to the insulation itself to hold it up. And then once it's up there, the headliner will hold it up in place. But that will prevent any dust or fibers that may come off of this going through the perforation on the headliner. And being it's black, it'll give it a little bit better appearance, especially, you know, when you look, there's some white spots on this, and don't really want to have that showing through the perforation. So that black background, and then it should be all set with the ready for the headliner to go in after get that in place. So I'm going to use the headliner bows to hold this up in place so I can get it cut out. And well, if I can find the corner again here. Oh, there it is. not the most convenient surface to sit on in the car here on the floor. But it's only temporary. Whew. All right, well, still trying to get it put in place here. I guess we'll clip it into place. Brought my whole drawer off the toolbox where I keep all these little like paper type clips, and we'll use that to hold this in place to start. So the front is about where it should be. Okay, so then I think draw it back. This is a queen size sheet. Probably didn't need a queen, but I wanted to make sure there was enough, and it's actually, I wonder if a full would even fit, properly fit. It is a flat sheet. Not a fitted sheet. And I was kind of surprised to see that I could get just a flat sheet. I don't know. I don't buy sheets that often, so maybe that's normal. Whoops. Just pulled off one of the clips. The thing to do would be to glue the center first and then bring it forward. You know, that center piece here, put glue on that, bring it forward, and then glue it around the perimeter. I don't think I need them to be in the way. I guess I'll do them selectively. Okay, so we'll take down the front. And now I'll put glue up here where the brace is. You know, just glue it right there, and then I'll come forward, you know, along this edge here, and then across the front, all the way around, and cut off the excess, and then the front half should be done. And yeah, I'll put some dabbit on this as well, just to hold it in place. All right, let's I'm gonna put this in time lapse here. What I'm finding is, unlike the insulation, which it seemed to stick really good to the wet contact cement, this, I'll put it up there and it'll come down, and I can see an imprint on here where I can go over it with a little bit more contact cement, let it tack up, and do the put another coat up here, let it tack up, and then I can put this in place. Because you know, the contact cement, you coat both sides, you let it tack up, and then once it sticks, it ain't moving. Give it a minute, and I'll put it back up there, and it should be stuck permanently. Okay, so I'm beginning to cut off the excess here. I made some dots on this for where I want to cut it. And there'll probably still be a little more excess to trim off, but it's getting the bulk of it off of there right now. Just add a little, let it tack up, and let it tack up, and then stick it. Okay, we'll give that one a few minutes, and then I'll move on. Okay, so the front half is done. I still have all this back here behind that center brace to do, but it's cut in, and I can say the glue didn't really stick to the insulation to hold it up, but it doesn't matter. It's firmly stuck around the perimeter, and actually having the sheet here is probably going to help those little pockets or flaps that are on the headliner where the listing rods go. It's probably going to help it go into place a little easier because the sheet is there. You know, the insulation you could dig into, and it'll come apart, whereas the sheet, it should go smooth over it. So anyway, I'm going to keep going, put some glue around this area here, make my way towards the back, and then come back on this side, cut off the excess, and then get the back of it done as well. So there we go. Yeah, so it only needs to come down, you know, maybe here or so on it, not all the way, just part way. So anyway, yeah, that's that, and more forward movement. Okay, so got most of it pushed up there, and just got to go along and cut off some of the excess. It's put in place. If I didn't mention it earlier, that's gonna keep any dust from that may come from that insulation. It'll keep it from coming through the perforations. It's kind of a little ragged around the edges, but that's okay. It'll be behind the headliner. All right, well, here we go with the headliner. We're gonna start that now. Okay, so sliding the rods in place, and if you remember from earlier, I mentioned about the dots that I've painted on there, and it goes in that's gonna determine the different positions that the rods go in. So they just slide in, and you know, if you when you slide them in, you want to keep it where the point is up, where it's not going to dig into the headliner if it does happen to get caught. All right, so I did the other three, and then I said, oh, I'll turn on the camera, and so just show the installation of 1 and 2. Yeah, well, okay, I guess I'm gonna put this in the car. And figure out which end I need to start from. Well, I think it goes from front to back. So let's go ahead and put this front one in place. Just leave it in the up position for the moment. Then here's number 2. don't know if I've gotten to the hard part yet. Maybe the hard part is making sure there's no wrinkles and trimming the little edges on it. But it seems like a lot of people are really scared to do a headliner, and I don't think it's that bad. But we're going to find out shortly if it gets any worse, because so far this is pretty easy. Okay, so all right, now, yeah, all right. Well, we got a lot of places to pull tight and then pull it side to side. I think we'll start at the front, see where this center line matches up to the front here. Hang on a minute, I'll be right back. Okay, so I had to cut off a little of this extra plastic that's been covering the car. I didn't want anything to get on the paint, so okay. Well, it seems like we need to go a little to the driver's side with it. All right, well, I'm gonna start fiddling around with this. What I'm working on here is these little hooks, and they go in here like that. Oops. And then hold the rod in place. So I think with it where it's at, I'm gonna hook these up. I already did this side over here, and then that kind of sets where the rods or bows are going to end up. So I'll get this in, and then I'll pull the front forward to tighten it up front to back. Okay, so that both those little hooks are in place on the bow and in the body as well. So now the next step is, I think I'm going to try to pull it forward to get it just kind of stretched out front to back, and then I'll work on the sides. Take off these clips. Probably stand to be tighter than that. Yeah, but this doesn't hold that well. In Jeff's video, he used a piece of windlace to hold it in place, and I might go to. I think I'm gonna go look for a piece. I know I have some extra hanging around, because that'll hold it more secure. Well, I've been at it for a little while here, just working it around, and I've got the back all glued in here. If you take a look, I made a nice uneven cut of the excess that wraps around, but that's okay. It's going to be covered up by the gasket for the rear window. But working my way from the back to the front here, and it's coming out pretty good. Just, you know, you keep working side to side and pulling it forward, and it's falling into place. So So pretty soon I'm gonna start coming up to this area here. You know, there's a few little waves. I think that hair dryer will help soften out a bit. So just working it forward, and it's so far so good. So all right, I'll check in a little bit. Okay, well, got it done. There's a couple little ripples, but I think and then some fold marks. I think once you know, warm it up some areas with the hair dryer, it'll take care of it. But I want to get the windlace and stuff in the back window before I go after it with the hair dryer. You know, it'll tighten up. When I did the one in my white car, or when I did the white headliner in my blue car, it looked the same way, and after a while it leveled out. So yeah, I think that's it for today. I don't know, what else did I do? I installed the rear shocks, but I couldn't hook it up on one side because the plate on the leaf spring is well, they have a flat plate in there. I need to find the correct one. Anyway, yeah, that's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow. See you then. Here is the back window, and I've been scraping around the edges to get some of this old stuff off there that still needs a little more cleaning. But that's the plan for this evening. Get it on the car. Got a new seal right there, and it's going to go in over here, of course. I'm going to trim back this plastic a little bit more. But yeah, everything is looking pretty ready for it to go in. So that's what I'll be doing. Tired of working on the ground, so I set this box on my tool cart and the window on top, so now it's at a more comfortable height to work on. So I've seen in some videos that they will put 3M strip caulk in the bead where, or in the seam where it goes around the window or around the body, but I haven't seen them do the seam where it goes around the glass. I think I'm just going to put a small layer. I can't see what it would hurt to put some 3M strip caulk down inside the seam that goes around the glass. So that's what I'm going to do here. Well, I think putting the 3M strip caulk in there is going to be too long and too boring, even for time lapse. I'll be back once I get this 3M strip caulk put into that seam. Alright, so that was a little bit of a chore getting that 3M strip caulk in all the way around, but wasn't terrible. Alright, so the back of the glass, this is the outside of the glass, it's facing up, and this flap would go on the inside of the car like that. So the gasket's going to fit in this orientation, and I'm going to get that put on here. Well, it was a little bit of a struggle, but it only took a few minutes. So now I'll put the strip caulk where everybody else puts a strip caulk as well, and that's against the body side of it. So I'll do that and I will be back shortly. So I tucked in the string going all the way around the whole glass and then back over to here. It overlaps a little bit. I got these suction cups for the glass, and I guess I gotta moisten them to make them work, but I'll be picking up the glass and setting it in the back next. Let's see, let's take a look, make sure everything is clear and ready for install, and it's looking like yes. So, okay. One thing I'm going to do first is just spray a little bit of that that wax honey in this seam area here. Okay, well, I'm going to grab the window and here it goes. It's good to have no gas tank or trunk lid when doing this. I think I would want to have the top part in first. It might take more than one try. Well, I guess it's time to pull the string. Can't put enough force on this thing to... Oh, there we go. All right, so that lip is already in. And here's where it's gonna, where we gotta start getting over with it. I sprayed some Windex, thinking that might give it a little bit of lubrication here. Come on. Got a little spot right here that didn't quite come out. See if we can use a little screwdriver to one little bump there. Alright, well anyway, we're going to keep going. Was the hard part, that lower corner on the other side. Maybe that's it. No, I don't think it worked across the bottom. I only got that bigger flap out of there. I didn't really get the seam in place. I probably should have shoved the bottom in place first. But we'll try it again here. So I have this little thing here, and it looks like it's going okay. If I reach down and push the lip, if it's working, it's going pretty quick. With this plastic tool to push a lip in place. Well, I don't know, it kind of feels like it's in. Only the corners, both corners were like sticking out a bit. Finesse, gotta have finesse. And experience. Experience helps too. Now I'm just trying to get the seal straightened out. I'm still unsure if that bottom is actually in, but it's actually looking that way. Yeah, well, I guess the bottom's in. It went. With these little, like, gaps right there. It's like as if the seal was a little rolled under a bit. I don't know if I can kind of, this plastic tool, just pry on it a little bit to work it down. That's looking better, just to try and get it to seat into place. Yeah, oh, that worked. Let's try this side. That right side came out a little better. Well, I don't know. I think a little more fiddling with the seal will get it here. I don't know, I gotta recheck on the inside, see where it's at. It seems a little squishy over here. I'm wondering if it's got a fold or something that's holding it out over here. So I'm gonna go inside and check that out. This is that trim piece that goes up here under the at the top of the windshield. I'm just gonna get that painted. It's a simple thing. One more thing to check off the list, because it's midnight now, so I will get some paint on this and then head home. All right, here's the deck lid, and getting ready to put a little contact cement on there. And if you look at the end of this, it's this side, this flat side, that's gonna go get glued down, and the seam is gonna be open towards the outside. Don't want to put it on too heavy, not on new paint, because it'll make the paint shrivel up. Okay, so as that tacks up, I'm going to put a coat on this weather strip. Alright, so I got this thing hung up here, and I'm just going to do a portion of it. And once I get that stuck down, then I'll be able to go a little further with it. I'm just doing a portion of it. And so the center is over here. I had marked the center with a Sharpie earlier. So I'll be able to start there and then get it spread around and cut off the ends to length once I get to that point. That's probably far enough there for coating this. I don't want to get too far and then have it flopping all over the place with glue on it. So I moved the box with the trunk lid on it underneath where this is, so now it's kind of suspended over. If I had somebody here helping me, they could keep it up in the air and off of you know, off the floor where it doesn't pick up any dirt. So I'll be able to just take it down and have it, the rest be suspended up while I'm setting it on there. Okay, seems like this stuff is kind of tacky. Find that center point, which is right there. Yeah, you could kind of see on the camera there. All right, so that seems about where I want it positioned. Work it around that corner. All right, well, put a little more glue on the areas that I haven't hit yet. What I'm finding is on the weather strip itself, I got to do a heavier coat and work it in. I think it absorbs into this, so if I just do a light coat, it's really not enough. So this gets a little heavier coat than what the deck lid itself got. I'll let that tack for a couple minutes. I got the other one all the way up to there, beyond where it needs to go. It should, the seam should be in the middle down there. That would be about the lowest point, I guess, of the trunk. In case any moisture gets in there, it can work its way down and out. Even though I'm holding this out, you don't want to like stretch it. You want it to lay down in a relaxed state and give it a good push. Really make sure it gets the maximum amount of contact with the glue between the two surfaces. So I cut where there's a little bit of overlap so it'll have some push together. apply some glue here. All right, well, I guess that's just gonna sit for now. So I got my fuel line installed. Here's the pump, and the fuel hose goes through, comes through the inner fender and goes down through the torque box and back here, and I've got that hooked up. I got the original piece of fuel line put back in. It was a nice coating of rust. I painted it with silver Rust-Oleum, and it comes all the way back to here. It's got, you know, it's 3 clips that hold it in, and sometime soon I'll be getting the gas tank put in, but that's where it ends for now. So I had to make this piece of line here and bend it up. So here's the old line, and this part here, and you can even still see a little bit of mouse nest on it, but the mice, you know, they urinate everywhere they go, and then the mouse nest around it, the urine's acidic, but then the mouse nest around it probably got wet and just held moisture against bare metal tube. So I had to, you know, I tried moving this and I felt it doing that and just breaking, so it would have been a problem once I put gas in there. So I said, well, I'll just make one now, and I think it came out pretty good. I used 3/8, which appears to be just slightly bigger. I don't know if the original stuff was like 11/32 or something, because it's just slightly smaller than the 3/8 metal line that I got. But pretty happy with it. Came out good. So we're getting closer, step by step. I'm trying to think what else I did recently. Oh, transmission cooler lines was a little bit of a chore for that rear line. These made-to-fit lines needed a few adapters stacked up to make it work. Put in the drive shaft today. The U-joints were fine. I left them alone, except they put this one in backwards. Normally with a steel drive shaft, you're supposed to have the Zerk fitting facing the shaft. If it's an aluminum drive shaft, they face away from the shaft, but because this, you can't get the unless you have a really thin tip, you can't get it on there. Oh, here's the other thing I did for the parking brake. So these cables that came off the parts car were shorter than what came off of this car, and so even that 4-inch long Cougar link wasn't enough. So in the help section at the auto parts store, you could get these little a multi-pack with these a little link in there, and or connector, parking brake connector. So I bought 2 of those, and then I took a piece of metal and welded them together, painted it, and so it fits now. It's gonna work. It's fine. It's not concourse. If this car was concourse, I wouldn't be using these Raybestos brake cables that don't fit properly, but they work, and I'll save the concourse ones for the orange, or not concourse, but the correct originals that are still functional. I'll save them for this car. Yeah, that's a beaut. My painter had sent me a picture of both fenders and both doors are all painted, and just got to get a hold of those, but I have other things to do before that happens, and a long way to go still. I don't even know if you know, if we're gonna have 100% success with the engine, or if it's gonna need something that is gonna cause some rework before the trip. But it's 2.5 weeks right now before I have to be ready to go. Actually less 2 weeks, 2 days, a little less than 2.5 weeks. 2 weeks, 2 days, 8 a.m. Yeah. So, yeah, clock's ticking, but still moving. So, okay. Today is Thursday. No. Don't even know what day it is. Today is Wednesday. It's just about 6 o'clock here. And it's 2 weeks and a day until Carlisle. And as you can see, being this is the car I want to drive to Carlisle, it's not ready yet. But it's getting closer. So last night I got some work done. Fuel line, I think we talked about that. Got the wiring harness. I don't know if we talked about that, but the wiring harness, it had this type of fabric, kind of little net type of wrap around it, around all the wires, and only a portion of it was good. So I actually took this plastic conduit and went over it, over the netting that was still good. But got that plugged in last night, and this conduit, can't say the path that this wiring harness follows is the smoothest path. Down here it's nice for wires to lay in. It's a nice smooth area. You know, when you start going up through here, there are some edges that the wires go through or past and lay on, and edges are going to eventually be a problem for a car that drives and has movement and vibration, bumps. The dynamic forces that come into play will cause a wire to get chafed through, and then we'll either blow a fuse. If we don't, we'll have a component that doesn't work, or we, worst case scenario, we could start a fire. So it was important to put the wiring in new conduit and try to run it in the best path possible. So that's one of the projects last night, was getting that body wiring harness in place. What else did I do? I put the drive shaft in. Oh, I put the weather stripping on the trunk, and I was going to put the deck lid on, but I didn't do that because I want to put the bedding compound in here and put the trim on before I put in the gas tank and put on the trunk lid, because I can get in and basically just stand right here next to the window, real easy to get here and get this put together while there's no deck lid or gas tank. So that was the hang up. So twice the deck lid came out of the back of the station wagon from when I picked it up, and twice it went back in. But it's on my to-do list tonight. If I can round up enough clips, I'm going to finish getting this sealed in and put the trim on. Then I can put in the deck lid and maybe even the gas tank. The brakes are all done, including the parking brake. Only thing left is to bleed them. Oh, another thing I did last night was put in the wiper motor and wiper linkage. That's all in. Of course, I broke this bolt doing it. I didn't clean out the threads. They were full of paint and there was some rust, and so the bolt was binding up, and before I knew it, it snapped off. I was going in hard, and I should have stopped there, but I was thinking, it'll seat before anything happens, but it didn't seat. So I had to drill that out, and luckily it drilled, and I got it pretty well centered on the drill, so I ran the tap through there and it cleaned up the threads. A new bolt went in, and no problem. But let's see, new components I got today. I got this bracket here for the carburetor linkage. Now I have to figure out how to modify the throttle cable, because it's a lot shorter distance from over here to right here, because normally it would have been about up here, and now it's back here. And I tried to flip it over, put it upside down over here, and then maybe pull on this one, but I'm not going to do that. Just gonna run it here, and then change out this little nut and bolt for a ball, because the throttle cable has a socket fit, and it should just fit in there without much problem. I mean, everything is kind of condensed, and the kickdown rod is going to be close to it, but I think we'll be able to it'll pass by. We'll make it, tweak it to fit. And what else here? That's about it. Oh, I got this distributor vacuum control valve, so I just put that in a minute ago. The other thing I did, I don't know if it was last night or the night before, but the alternator, got a new alternator harness, and got that put on. So got to finish making the fuel line, and I'm undecided whether I'm going to use 5/16 coming out of the pump up to here, or if I'm going to use 3/8. I think 5/16 would be sufficient. And the other benefit of 5/16 is gas is going to travel faster through it, and the 5/16 has less surface area that is going to absorb heat from the engine bay. So there are some benefits to 5/16, and I don't think we're going to have a fuel consumption issue even with two carburetors with the 5/16 line. So I think I'm leaning towards 5/16, even though everything else is 3/8. I mean, this is 3/8 over here, because that's only what was available with this was 3/8. But yeah, 5/16 should be sufficient. If not, I could always change it later. That's easy to change. So all right, so some new parts came in today. I got a bunch of vacuum hoses, new vacuum hoses for the headlights, and they're okay. I don't know if I'm gonna try to reuse the old ones or not. We'll see. I'm gonna see how this lays out. I don't know if I really like it or not. It might just depend how well the old ones clean up. You know, take them, throw them in the bathtub, soap and water, and they might clean up pretty well. Maybe a portion. I'll use a portion of it. I don't know. Got a heater control valve. Except for one of the problems I'm seeing is on the climate control in the car. I don't yet see a switch for vacuum and a vacuum hose that goes up and over to control the heater control valve. But it needs a heater control valve, because if you don't shut off that circulation, what ends up happening is too much coolant will bypass the radiator. Instead of coming out here and then going up to the radiator to get cooled, a portion of that goes up this line here, and if this is not blocked off and the heater's not being used, then the heat is not getting dissipated, so the heater core stays hot, but then there's no air flowing past it because you don't have the fan turned on. So now hot water is coming back down here, and then going back into the engine. So a portion of hot water just circulates back in. Now we already have a bypass, which I reduced the diameter of the hole to cut down the flow, which I might do that on my wagon as well, because the wagon gets hot. And it gets hot because it was bypassing too much coolant. When I clamped off the hose on the wagon, because there was no heater control valve on it, clamped off the hose, the temperature in the same circumstance went down 15 degrees. So there was a 15 degree difference between having flow versus no flow here. And because if you cut off flow here through the heater hoses, it's going to force all that water to go through the radiator, and it ran 15 degrees cooler that way. Putting a heater control valve on here is important, and I'm going to figure out how to do it if there never was. But in the Ford service manual, it does show a heater control valve on this lower hose next to the firewall, and it shows a vacuum line going to it, but I don't know where that vacuum line is going to connect to on the controls under the dash. So that's another thing to find out, because I don't want to have this thing running around at 230 degrees when it's got 180 degree thermostat in it. So little hurdles, and hopefully an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, where we can add things like the heater control valve, and then that's gonna start us off in the correct direction versus having a problem and trying to correct it later. You know, right now there's no coolant in there, so I cut open the hose, put the heater control valve in. There's no coolant dripping down on the transmission and the back of the engine and wherever else onto the floor. Just get it set up properly from the beginning. Okay, well, I guess I am going to figure out where I'm going to start now and keep moving, because it's let's see, 2 weeks, 1 day, and 14 hours that I have to leave. All right, so I've got so much video so far on different odds and ends putting this together, but I haven't devoted a minute of time to editing video to post, and I probably won't be able to do that before Carlisle, which I really wanted to show some of the progression up to before the show, so you know, people can be informed about all the different things I'm doing and how far along this project is progressing and where it started from. But I don't think I'm going to do that, but I'll just do it when I get back. You know, post a few videos, and then finally with a follow-up at the show with the car, if I get there. You know, right now I think it's a viable possibility, and well, even more than that, it's a mission right now. If it wasn't a mission, I wouldn't stay here until 1:30 in the morning for several weeks in a row, but that's gonna have to be what it takes to get it done. So okay, well, I'm gonna keep going, and I will film a little more in a little while. It's a Ford Duraspark with an MSD 6AL. It's way down there. Boxes. It's hard to see. I painted it black. But it's so we got ignition. and soon we'll be trying to see if the engine will fire up. It's been a while since I've taken some video of the car. It's got a lot of work put into it since then. I don't even remember if I talked about the headliner. I put the headliner in. The doors are hanging. They need to be filled with the regulators and windows and stuff, and that'll happen this weekend. The back window is in place. The deck lid is in place. Fuel tank is in place. The wiring harness is in place. The tail lights are in place, and I have to do a fuel door for it. Even my license plate, the lucky devil. That's what this car is. The exhaust is all done, all the way out back to here. What else has gotten done since then? I mean, other odds and ends. Transmission cooler lines have gotten done. Linkages up here have gotten done. The fuel line from the tank with a new fuel sender, not a new fuel sender, but new to me fuel sender. The fuel line is all done from the fuel pump up to the carburetors. Radiator is in. Radiator hoses are on. I'm going to probably have to rob these rubber pieces off another car if I want to take it to the show. Yeah, it's a lot has gotten accomplished here, and it's getting close. I have less than a week from 8 a.m. this morning, and now it's 9 p.m. at night, so 6 days and 12 hours, or 6 days and 11 hours actually. Got some help coming up this weekend to help me out. The body guy is working on the hood. I got the fenders back. They're in the back of my station wagon over here. And he's working on the hood and the scoop, and the wing is the wild card. He's not sure if he can get it done in time. But we'll see what happens. I mean, if I get everything else done and he gets it done in the 11th hour, then the wing is just bolted on and go. But yeah, we're getting close. Got a bunch of electrical stuff put in here. I got the wrong alternator harness. It really needs one for XR7, not a standard Cougar. So I bought the wrong one. The starter is in place. And the engine cranks over. So vacuum hoses are in place, and this wiring harness is in place. So there's a lot left to do, but made a lot of progress since the last time I filmed. So anyway, that is it for the moment. I'm going to keep working. I wish I wasn't so pressed for time. I would film more of the work getting done. But I will talk to you soon. it starts. So I don't have a mechanical oil pressure gauge, so I do have the one for the gauge in the dash, and when the engine's not running it reads 73.3, around that area, but when it starts and the oil pressure comes up, it goes down. So that would be probably about mid-gauge. If the gauge were maxed, it'd probably be around like 10 ohms or so. Sounds good. Carburetors were pretty darn close. Turn the idle screws about a quarter turn. My nice wires are screwed up because I don't know what I was thinking. I guess I was thinking 460 or Cleveland or something, 351, because I had a 137-26548 firing order instead of the 154-3678 or 154-26378. That's what it is. Transmission's full, power steering's full now. It's got a nice sound, other than the springs rattling, but it sounds good. Then when the oil pressure goes away, we're back up into the 70s. So it's initial timing set about 14 degrees. I think that's what I hypothesized when setting up the distributor on the distributor machine, the Sun 500. So with that, it should top out around 34 or so total. I don't remember how quick I had it come in. I think I had it come in by about 3,000, and then there's probably about 12 degrees of vacuum on top of that. So it should run pretty good. I think there's 12 degrees. It might be more vacuum than that. Didn't have the radiator cap on, and all of a sudden we had Old Faithful come out, which is why there's still steam coming off. I had to take out the garden hose and rinse off the glycol. We had a fuel leak also, which took some of the paint off down here, but that's not a big deal. It's just that one well area that needs to get touched up. But it ended up being the gasket here. The surface of the carburetor body was irregular, so I took a file, just carefully filed until it seemed to be pretty uniform all the way across the face of the opening, and then I wrapped some 600 grit around the file, and so I can hone that a little bit and put it back together. Didn't leak. At first I thought it was the T, because those T's, they don't do a double flare on them. They have a single flare right up here. It's just a single flare, but I guess it works. It's gonna work. It's working. So double flare would have been a little nicer. I think that conforms better. And you certainly can't put a piece of hose over a single flare because it'll get cut. But yeah, just that fuel leak and then Old Faithful of coolant. So far so good. A few more things to do here, but glad to hear it run. Got to change the alternator harness. This little white wire that's hanging out up here, that's for the tack feed from the MSD box that's down here. I don't know if I can get it in on camera there. It's just way down there. Put the camera down there. Yeah, you can see the MSD now. But yeah, so yeah, it's pretty neat. I don't want a big MSD box just right up front and center. You know, I want it to look like kind of period correct. You know, with the small distributor cap. None of those big stupid looking DUI ignition HEIs in here. You know, I hate that look. So, you know, it's fine and dandy if the distributor's in the back. You know, it gives you better that distributor's so big you got to put it in the back of the engine, otherwise you'll just spin the rear tires. You won't have any weight transfer. You should put that distributor in the trunk. But anyway, yeah, it's coming along. I'm excited. I've got less than a week. I got 6 days to Carlisle, and right now it's 1 a.m. almost 1 a.m. So I'm gonna disconnect this for overnight. You know, I don't want to leave the car unattended with all this unknown of wiring. You know, it's best to disconnect the power, and then there's no worries about something shorting or arcing and then nobody here to see it. So better to be safe than sorry, or as I like to say, an ounce of prevention. An ounce of prevention there is worth a ton of cure. Not just a pound of cure, a ton of cure. So anyway, yeah, that's about it. So all right, I will see you soon. Coming back from Herkimer, New York. In the back of the car is the wing, and under the blanket is the hood, and the hood scoop is back there too. Those are the last pieces that I had to pick up for the Eliminator. And today is Tuesday, May 30th, and Carlisle, I leave for Carlisle Thursday, June 1st. So I've got 2 days to finish putting this car together. That's going to be a long couple days that's going to go by quick. I'm going to give it my best shot. So, anyway, I will keep you posted on what happens. Oh, and by the way, the guy that painted my car, great guy, and great people. His wife baked cookies, and even though I quit cookies January 15th of this year, I won't say no if somebody gives me cookies. And it's just a wonderful gesture, and I really appreciate it. It's very, very happy, love it. So anyway, see you soon.